Happy Friday. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time where we can relax and craft, and we work about an hour every evening working on a project from beginning to end. And we have just started the Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along. I'm working on the Splendid Sampler 2 every Thursday and Friday from here on out. So we are working on block 1. It is Quilt Market. Here it is, so cute, by Alex Veronelli. From Aurifil, and we got about halfway done last night. I'm hoping we can finish the block tonight. The more we can finish these blocks in 2 days, the better, so we don't get too far behind, because I'm only going to be doing them Thursdays and Fridays, and then I'll pick them up some, on special times, like maybe we'll do a Saturday sew along or something if I start falling too far behind. But I think with this one, I think we'll be able to finish it tonight, so I'm super stoked about that. I'm doing the blonde Splendid Sampler. I love that. I think someone here, Noeline maybe, I think mentioned that all my quilts can be kind of blonde. So I'm doing a very light neutral quilt. Two things that I have not done before. So overall, I want it to end up being like a very pale quilt and with neutrals. But all my neutrals, I'm using my stash, and all my neutrals are kind of on the yellow side. So it's a blonde Splendid Sampler. So I'm super stoked. So everything is very light, but it is lighter than, they are darker than my actual light color, which is white. I'm going to be using a lot of white in this quilt. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about value. I brought that ruby ruler that we talked about yesterday. I brought that out, and so I'll be showing you guys that a little bit tonight too. So anyway, let's get going. I'm going to start with snipping these apart. We finished sewing yesterday, and we will press. And I know there were some people that were a little confused by the pressing instructions here, and I gotta admit, I was a little confused too. So last night I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but it occurred to me what it means this morning. So I will go through that a little bit tonight as well. So first, let's snip these apart. Thanks again for joining, guys. I'm gonna flip you around and we'll get going. All right, there's my stash all bundled up there. I gotta fold it up all nice again. So, all right, here we are for the evening. Thanks again for joining me. All right, first up, we have to snip all our little dudes apart. So let's just do that quick. I'm just going to use my scissors. We chain piece these, which means, it looks like a long chain. We just sewed one after the other, and that really helps save on thread, and it just saves on time. You don't have to take your fabric off the sewing machine every single time you sew. You can just keep them going. All right, so that's it. Time to press. So I want to show you guys these pressing instructions because they were a little confusing, but I think I figured it out. Oh, you got your 6.5-inch ruler out, Gretchen. That's awesome. All right, so these are the pressing instructions. So we're supposed to press sorry, my camera's shaking just a hair. It'll stop after a second. But you're supposed to press the seam allowance, and what that means. So this is the seam allowance. This is the back. You can press these in different directions, right? So that's what these are referring to, which way to press the instructions. And here over here, it makes sense, right? It's pointing up, so we'll press this piece up towards this piece. That makes sense. But this one had, this funny little design here, and I think I have it figured out what it means. And I think why I'm having trouble is that it's just, the diagram is printed a little small. I think this is what it's really supposed to look like. So we got the two seams like this, that's just a bigger version of this. I think these diagrams were supposed to be like right here. So I think it's supposed to be an arrow pointing that way and an arrow pointing that way. And then another one right here. An arrow pointing that way and an arrow pointing that way. So what I think this means is pressing open. And what that means is we're going to separate the seam allowance and then press them open like that, both sides. So it'll be like this. So I think that was the problem for me. It just looked like these arrows looked like they were placed over here, and I was getting confused. But I think if you think about it lining up with the seam, then it's like, oh yeah, it's an arrow pointing that way and an arrow pointing that way. So if you're having trouble with that diagram, I think that's the deal. I think we're pressing open. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Yeah, because Julie, exactly. So I was going to press towards the dark, so away from the middle piece, because typically that's kind of like a standard thing to press away from your lighter pieces of fabric. You know, so it'd be like this. But that's just not what that diagram looked like. And then it occurred to me, oh yeah, it's supposed to be like near the line. So we're pressing open. And okay, so I got my iron ready. And you know what? I actually kind of like pressing to one side first to kind of get everything nice and flat, and then I press open. There, so we got like one side there, and I'll even flip it around. Press it all nice to one side. Straighten it out a bit, and then I'll go back and press open. I wonder if I can press both open at once. That'd be kind of cool. Here we go, like that. So I rarely press open, but with that the Charming Chevrons quilt, which is that other quilt that we're working on right now, all of those were pressed open. So I'm getting a little bit more used to it. In theory, when your whole piece is done, it lies flatter with the seams pressed open, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a extra annoying step sometimes, so I'm not 100% convinced. I think there's debates that go both ways, whether you should press to one side and or pressing it open. But I'm pressing it open. Oh, you're having deja vu with working on this Splendid Sampler again, Sue. Oh, that's funny. All right, so we got this first guy ready to go. See, it just takes a little extra time, I think. But we got to do these with, how many do we have? We have 7 of these. So, all right, I'm going to just heat up my iron again. We'll press to one side. Okay, and you know what? It is official. My mom is officially going to be doing the Splendid Sampler too with us. I think she was on the fence, but then she watched last night's video and she's like, yeah, fine, I'm doing it too. So she picked out her fabrics today. She's doing an almost all black and white quilt. So she's using a bunch of my my penguin and fish fabric from some of my past fabric lines, and she picked out a bunch of black and white prints, and she's doing it all black and white. And I think there's a little bit of gray, and one of the fabrics has a little bit of blue in, so she threw in like another blue fabric. Do we use the same fabric for all the squares? Well, Kelly, that is completely up to you. Technically, well, I mean, if you're wanting it all to go in the same quilt, then, you know, you can use similar fabrics. I mean, what is recommended for this project is like 40 fat quarters or so. I actually think that's quite a bit. I'm thinking you probably actually don't need that much. But you can always add and subtract as you go as well. So what I'm doing is I picked out, I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 fat quarters. Actually, you know what? Maybe I did pick out around 40, but not all of them were fat quarters. Some of them were smaller pieces of fabric or weird cuts, weird pieces of fabric. But I'm going to just grab from that pool of fabric. So these particular fabrics that I'm using here, I may not use in every block, but they'll pop up now and again for sure. My mom, for the last Splendid Sampler, completely used her scrappy stash. So she just kind of had the parameter that, oh, I kind of like green and browns and these coral colors together. So I'm going to kind of pick those colors from my stash. And then she would keep picking new ones for each block, but she would keep some of the old fabrics as well to carry over. So it's kind of up to you. So it's also up to you if you want to turn this into a quilt or not. It's going to be 100 blocks when we're all done, so it could easily turn into a queen size quilt. If you just want to make one block and make like a little pillow or a bag or whatever out of it, that is totally a-okay. So yeah, so what I'm doing is those like 40 or so fabrics, and I'm gonna just keep picking from that stash. I put together a little bin that I'm just throwing it all in, like keeping the project together. Ooh, these are cute together. These are like good little baby fabrics here. All right, we got 3 done, 4 more to go. See, this is what I'm saying. I was talking about this last night a little bit, how for me, I just kind of forget what a big part of the process pressing is. Like right now, to me, this seems like it's just taking like painfully long. I never have the patience for pressing. Oh, yep. Yep, Terry, exactly. I think they're pressing the seams open. So that's funny, Terry, because I kind of had the same reaction yesterday when we were working on this. I wasn't quite sure what those diagrams were, and then today it occurred to me that, oh, they're pressing open. Their arrow's going both directions, and so pressing open. So I had the same reaction. I was confused yesterday, but then it just made sense today. That's when you know it's time to go to bed. when it's just not working, then you wake up and it's good to go. Oh, you've been watching since the last Splendid Sampler, Julie. That is awesome. Yes, you've been here for a while. We started the first Splendid Sampler. I was one of the designers on the first Splendid Sampler, and I filmed all those live as well. Those started on Valentine's Day in 2016. So that's like, feels like ages and ages ago. Ooh. These are all so pretty. Ooh, I love these extra little florals with this tan. You know, that's going to be one of my most fun, or my most, like, what I like most about some of these Splendid Samplers, at least with the last Splendid Sampler. Just the fabric combos that would happen. Like fabric combos that you would never think to put together. You're putting together just because you have to. That's what you're using. That's the stash you're pulling from. And there's just fun, exciting new things that happen that way. Look at this little elephant. It's almost like we fussy cut him. We're gonna get his head just perfect. Look, there's little itty bitty music notes on that too. What fun fabric. Yes, so we actually started, so when we started the first Splendid Sampler, the videos for it was back in like the prehistoric ages of live streaming. Live streaming had just started, and we were doing these on Periscope. I think it was before they even had Facebook Live. But yeah, so now we're doing it on Facebooky Live. I'm glad that I'm able to press both of these open at the same time. That's saving us a little bit of time. Oh, you haven't sewn your first blocks together for the first Splendid Sampler? Yep. No judging in that. I am not done with my first Splendid Sampler quilt either. I'm almost done. I just have to snip the little threads and give it a wash. But man, I've been working on that one for a while after a lot of other people were completely finished. So the nice thing about the Splendid Sampler 2 is that the blocks are going to end up being the same size as the Splendid Sampler 1 blocks. So if you like some of the first Splendid Sampler blocks, or you're still working on the Splendid Sampler 1, but you want to do some Splendid Sampler 2 stuff, you can combine it all into one thing if you want, because they'll all be the same size. This is just a light cream, which is just a tad darker than the white, just barely. So, like I said earlier, I'm doing a very pale quilt. Like, all of my fabrics are very, very light. So in the instructions, it said to use dark and medium fabrics next to your light fabric that's in the middle. The little middle strip is the light fabric. But my darks to mediums happen to be very light still, but they are darker than the white. Oh, interesting. So you blew up the PDF. Paula, you zoomed in to your PDF, and then those arrows were in the right spot. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, good. So that is confirmation that we're correct on pressing these open. But you know what? The thing is, it's not the end of the world by any means. So if you pressed them in a different direction, who cares? It doesn't matter. All right, we have one more, and then we can start trimming these guys up. But I do want to take a look at that. Ooh, geez, these are cute. Look at those cute fabrics. I do want to take a look at that ruby ruler. We talked about it yesterday a little bit, so I want to show you that. I am using a dry iron. Tammy, I don't really have a great reason. I suppose a reason could be is that if you use steam or starch, it can stretch out what you're working on a little bit if it's wet, because then it makes your piece wet. But you know what? For the first Splendid Sampler, we were using a lot of starch. I just haven't been using starch lately, so I don't know. If we get to a part where we're really concerned about things moving around or something, I don't know, then maybe we'll get the starch out again. I'm a little undecided on the reason. I need a good reason. I need some reasoning, and I just don't know yet. Yes, Janet, the blocks are coming out one a week. They come out every Thursday at thesplendidsampler.com. So make sure you are on the Splendid Sampler Facebook page as well. That's where a lot of information is going to be, and the blocks are going to be released on the actual thesplendidsampler.com once a week on Thursdays. So this was the first week. And the first 20 are going to be free. So this is free right now. After the first 20, there's 100 total, but after the first 20, the book for this project, they've already turned it into a book. It's on pre-order right now, but that book will be starting to ship after these first 20 are done, and then we'll be going from the book. So it's really only the first 20 that are for free, and then the rest are from the book. But it's the price of one book, and you get like 100 of these cool blocks by different designers. All right, so I just want to show you guys something here quick. We'll throw that guy in here. So here is that ruby ruler. So here we go right here. It is, it's this red dyed ruler. It's called the Ruby Ruler, and it's by Blair Stocker of Wisecraft Handmade of Wisecraft. And I put a link to it, but here's the idea behind the Ruby Ruler. So this ruby lith kind of color, like painters and other artists use this a lot because what it does is it kind of cancels out color and turns it into value. And what I mean by value is it's the value is like how dark or light something is. So if we hold this up to, everything we got going on down here, I'm going to even include the cutting board here, but if we hold this up, like I'm covering it for you guys. I think my phone might try and autocorrect it. Yeah, it's trying to autocorrect a little bit. Here, let's go down here. But you can kind of see right away that the white is popping out as a little bit lighter than all these other ones. And you can, some of these colors like the purple and the green and like the yellow, they kind of go away and it almost becomes grayscale. Not quite, but almost. And you can see what's lighter and darker. So like right here, this is kind of a lot lighter than maybe, this color here might be a little bit darker. But anyway, this is a great way. Oh, here we go. If we put it right up against it, then you can see a lot easier. So this piece now appears darker than this piece. So if you were comparing colors next to each other, you would know, like, oh yeah, I can put this in a darker pile than this. I mean, mine are all very close because I'm doing a very light quilt. But if we go up to, here we go. Let's throw this guy in here. I got some other fabrics here too. Throw this on top and wow, this just gets really dark and you can just see how dark it is to that. And actually it looks, if I was choosing lights and darks, I would almost call this darker than this fabric because look, this just appears really dark. And then maybe even this one. And then we get to some of these ones down here. So this just helps. A lot of times with quilting, you want your darks and mediums and lights in a quilt because that helps you distinguish between shapes. So the only thing that really distinguishes a shape more so than color is the value. So how dark something is to something else, it's a relationship thing. So how dark item number 1 is to item number 2 is how much it's gonna pop out at you. So the darker the item is to each other, the more it's gonna pop. So like if we put this next to that white, like that white and blue, that's popping a whole lot more because there's a lot more contrast in the value. This is way darker to the light, whereas this is not as dark, so that kind of blends in together. So it really helps you figure out how dark and light things are so you can make more informed decisions on your quilt. So even with this guy, we can put this on top and immediately, okay, dark, 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 dark. This is kind of a medium. This is a lighter medium. This one and this one are probably pretty similar. And then these white guys are popping out of there too, but you can immediately see the darks. So it'll help you, if you look at this from far away when the quilt's done, you will see those dark areas more than you'll see the color. So you'll more immediately see, ooh, dark and light versus, ooh, blue and red. So something to think about when you're choosing fabrics, kind of have a good range of lights and darks. I know I'm doing a little oddball thing where I'm kind of keeping to very light fabrics, but that's going to just make a very pale quilt. It's all about relationship from one color to another. So these are both light colors. These are all light colors, but comparing this to this one is darker than that one, and it's going to appear darker when they're next to each other. So that's kind of what the Ruby ruler is all about. It's just like a little helpful tool to start breaking down pieces like that. But let's start chopping these guys. So next up is we're going to cut these down to the pieces. So it says how many we need to make. I'm just going to kind of grab randomly, although I do kind of like that we have this guy in there, but I don't know. We'll put him in later. Let's just grab. So first thing I'm going to do, I think we'll use this ruler today. You know, I could stack these on top of each other, but I think we're going to do each one separately. So one thing we want to check is that this is 2.5 inches. That will let us know how good our seam allowance was, like how well I was sewing it. And you know, in the middle here, it is not that bad. This is 2.5 inches. That's pretty dang good. As I get to the edge, it's kind of veers off a little bit. So you know what? Since we have a whole pile of extra, I think I will chop that part off. That's not quite perfect. So I'm gonna line one of this line of dots. I'm gonna line it along this white seam because maybe that'll kind of keep it a little square. All right, and the first one we need is 2.5 inches. So I actually don't need to line it up on the ruler because I can just use my 2.5 inches here as a guide. Actually, I'm gonna not worry about the side to side or the top to bottom. So I'm lining one edge and the other edge there so it's nice and square. Got my 2.5 inches. All right, here is our first piece, our first like little finished piece. So cute. Ugh, love those fabrics. This is actually all scrap. So there's actually quite a bit of scrap for this block, but I'm going to use these later. Every scrap we'll either use in another block later, or I will sew them together, like improv piece, sew them together into the back of my quilt. That's kind of a fun thing that I've been doing lately, and I'm just really liking that. All right, so next up, this is also where if you want to put these all in a certain place, like if you want, you know, your reds up here and your blues down here or something, you do want to pay attention to how you're cutting and where it lays out on your little grid here. I'm not worried about that. I'm kind of doing a whole pile of random stuff, so I'm not worried about where my colors go. So I'm just kind of grabbing and going. All right, so here's the next one. We'll just trim off this edge. Let's kind of give it a check. We're still pretty good for the seam allowance. We'll cut a little bit less off of this one. Okay, nice edge. And this one will be 4.5 inches. I always get nervous for cutting, so I'll like count things that I can obviously see as 4 inches, but I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4.5 because I freak myself out. Just lining up those edges. Notice I have my safety on. I always have the safety on until right when I'm about to cut. And then it closes right away. Okay, piece 2. I'm just throwing the pieces to the side as we go here. I'm just taking from the top. All right, the next one, we need 4 of the next one. So we need 4 6.5 inch ones. Since maybe I pressed a little crooked, but we can fix that later. Okay, so this is where a case where this 6.5 inch ruler comes in awesome because it is the exact size that I need. Ooh, look how crooked we are. We'll just shimmy it down like that. All right, that looks good. Oh, you love the white? I am digging the white. So that's one of these parameters that I set for myself for this quilt, is to use a lot of white. So anytime one of these patterns is going to call for a light fabric, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use white. So for most of the background pieces, like if there's a little motif on the inside, I'm going to have a white background. I know that's like a common thing to have, you know, a background and then your whatever is on the inside is the stuff that you have color. But I've never done that before, and I think that would just be. I'm excited for it. I think it'll just be clean and pretty, and I don't know. All my quilts lately have been so bright, like tons of color and super bright, and I wanted to see if I could do something a little lighter and pale. I'm pretty excited about it. I always like setting kind of a little design parameter for myself when I'm working on projects. We are almost done cutting here, so we will get to sewing this. I do want to finish this tonight. I think we are. I think we're on track for finishing it. Yeah, let me know, you guys, if you finished this block already or where you're at with it. If you go to the Splendid Sampler Facebook page, it's so awesome because you can see everyone's blocks, or people. You can post your block there. So a lot of people post their finished blocks, and it's always so fun. And I'm always just fascinated at how different the same design looks, but just with different colors and different people doing it. It's just really fun. So if you did do this block, I encourage you to take a photo of it and post it up there and share. Oh, you finished yours? Ooh, did it in pepper and flax. Pepper and flax. Is that a line of fabric, or are those the colors? Because those would be awfully pretty colors. Yes, everyone's fabrics are so pretty. Ooh, before I get talking too much, this one we need 8.5 inches. So I'm gonna get a nice, 8.5 inches. So this one I'm gonna get a good straight edge here. And then I'm gonna get the other ruler out. I suppose I could just line it up on my cutting mat here, but we'll do it for real. So here we go. Line it up to the 8.5. See, I always freak myself out that I'm gonna do the wrong size. Just kind of lining up the fabrics. I gotta count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5. Ugh, I can't believe I have to count that every time, but that's how it works for me. All right, we got our pieces cut. Oh, I saw that too, Noeline, that version of this with the little pencil fabric, and there was like teeny tiny skinny pencils and all the white. That was awfully cute. So that was some snazzy fabric. All right, so we can kind of lay this out now, it looks like. I'm just, I'm using this diagram here, and then we'll use this to sew things together. So we're gonna have to sew and then press, and then sew and then press, and sew and press, and sew and press, and sew and press. So we'll be back and forth between the ironing board and the sewing machine for this. So hopefully I don't make you seasick with my camera here, but first let's lay it all out here. We can rearrange it, see how we like things. Like, do we like this better than this? I think so, because these are close in value, and I think a little bit separated. Oh, look how that white pops already. I'm super stoked about this. Okay, now we got all our skinny pieces. Oh, you know what? It doesn't go like that. It goes like this. Jeez. Good thing we're doing this. All right, and then this guy. So this is kind of like a log cabin block at this point. You have your first piece, then this next piece goes on. This gets attached to this. Let's get this elephant in there. So like that. This will get, ooh, how about this yellow? We'll pop that up. Like that. Oh wait, no, this is the long one. Maybe like that. That's kind of pretty, right? Yeah, because these kind of bleed into each other. Do I like the darker one? I think the light. I like this fabric here. And then we'll hit it with this bright yellow. So, okay, I think this is our setup here for sewing. It's actually, these two are the first sewn things. So here we go. We're just kind of sewing the edge on right there, which is kind of fun. I haven't done anything like that where you're not sewing the whole entire piece. So I'm going to just, well, I don't know. I guess I'll just start here. We'll flip it around that way. Maybe start here and just kind of veer off. All right, let's do it. I like setting up my block like that though, because just like laying it all out, because you could see I was already kind of making mistakes right from the get-go. So all right, this is, wait, is this how we wanted it? I kind of like this. Let's go like that. then we can get more of these little flowers in. Yeah, we're going like this. You know what? I think we're just gonna, this is all gonna get, well, nah, we'll go this way. So getting that scant 1/4 inch again. It stops about right there, and I'm just gonna veer off. I think that'll work. All right, snip and snip. So now we gotta press this. So let's shimmy over here. Okay, and we are pressing towards the smaller piece. So when we press towards a certain piece, I always like to have that piece on the top. Give it a little press to kind of set the seam. And then by flipping that top piece, we will have pressed it. The seam will be aimed towards that piece that was on top. So if it's like pressed towards the top piece, or press towards, you know, this square, I'll put that on the top. So there we go. Here's our first little bit. This is fun. I haven't done anything, yeah, these weird seams like this where you rotate it and then trim it later. Oh, Elizabeth, you were not very good at the scant 1/4 inch today. Well, it took me about half of the Splendid Sampler to get a little bit better at that. So don't beat yourself up about that. Man, now I think it should go like that, maybe. Then we have this fun little orange piece. Yeah, I think I like this better. Okay, let's, yeah, this is the next piece. We sew this one on, and then this one. So, all right, like so. And to the machine again. Again, let me know if you're getting a little dizzy, a little seasick from me moving around. Oh, I'm getting excited. So I just love when I get to try new things and learn new things. It is one of my most favorite things about crafting. And like I said, I've not done a block like this before. Uh-oh. I think I just sewed over. I must have pressed the seam shut. Oh well, whatever. So we're going to have one seam that's not pressed open. All right, we're attached there. I'm going to just veer off again. Okay, let's scooch over to the ironing board again. So I definitely recommend having kind of a little bit of a setup like this where you have a cutting, pressing, and sewing all in the same area because it would be super annoying if I had to walk across the room every single time I wanted to do something here. All right, so this piece that we just sewed, that we're pressing towards that piece according to our little grid. So I'm just going to give it a little press to set the seam. And then we will press it over. And I'm not too concerned about, you know, like it popped out here. That's all going to get cut off, so I'm not too concerned about that. Oh, it's looking so cute! It's so cheery and bright. I like these yellows, but dang, look how much that white pops out of there now. Crazy! It's like popping so much more than when it's just in pieces. It's just kind of fun. All right, next up, ooh, the little efflumps here. Okay. Yeah, I like the elephants. All right, this guy goes over here. So now this piece is actually the same size as this finally. So this is like a normal piece right here. Okay. Let's line that up again. That's a good judge of how my seam allowance is too, because right now it looks like this piece is supposed to be 6.5 inches. I'm a little shy of that, so I might not be quite scant enough with my scant 1/4 inch. But I'm thinking we're good enough. This one we can go all the way to the end. these fellers off. Yeah, it's all. Yeah, you're right, Catherine. It's all going to be cut off. You know, we end up rotating this whole thing that we're making and trimming it, which is kind of cool. It gives us this really kind of fancy effect to it. All right, pressing to this piece. Oops. By the way, not having a cord on your iron is so amazing. I love this cordless iron so much. I think I'm doing this right still. Yeah. Little elephant. Yeah, it's like a braid design. Exactly, Jenna. It looks like just a really pretty braid. I'm kind of in love with it. This is funny. I'm having so many memories of the Splendid Sampler 1 now. I forgot that I always fall in love with every single block, but at different points. Like right now is when I'm falling in love with this block. I'm just falling in love with this white popping. It's just kind of funny. I'm just like invested in it now, invested in this poppy white. But yeah, there's always a moment when I realize, oh, I'm in love with it. And I think it's coming once we sew these little guys together. It's so funny though, that happened to me with like every single block. In the last Splendid Sampler. You know, I could like a block from the beginning, but there would always be a moment that I'm just like, oh, I love it. It's so awesome. I love it. So I'm feeling it now. I forgot that feeling though, of the falling in love with the block. Oh, now I'm super excited for the Splendid Sampler. I get to fall in love every time we make a block again. Okay, here we are. All right, there's about 15 minutes left to the hour. I try and keep these to an hour long, but I think we'll definitely be able to finish this in that 15 minutes. So I'm stoked. We are just about done here. We got 2 more pieces, and then we get to trim this feller down. It's gonna be so cute. All right. But yeah, you can see that even with using very light colors, you still get the effect. Like I still get these whites jumping out at me compared to like these darker yellows and stuff. I'm excited. All right, next up. Now things aren't all lining up again. There's like the gap here, but that's because, again, we're going to be rotating the whole piece. So like if we rotate it like this, then, you know, then we have enough all over the place. So, all right, this guy first, I think. Oh, kind of doesn't matter. It goes like this, it looks like, for these last 2. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter which one we go first and second, so we'll just keep it going like how we have been. All right, that guy first. Oh, you know that I have so much fun and showing it out. I get excited about this stuff. I like the little discoveries, I suppose. Little discoveries in life. Trying to match these guys up again. Sometimes I just match up the edge at the beginning, and then once I have it on the machine, like once the needle's on it, then I'll work on matching up the rest of the seam here. Supersonic speed. There we go. All right, and off the edge. All right, let's press that, and then we have one more, and then we can press the whole thing, and then we will be trimming it down over here. Ooh, I must have mushed mushed those. We'll press those open again quick. All right. Ooh, this one is bright. This is a brighter fabric than most of the other fabrics that I chose for this. But that's okay. Fun little bonus brightness. I actually did pick a bunch of bright colors. You know, I showed some of them earlier. So I do have this whole kind of set of extra little pops of color. So every once in a while, like every 5 blocks or something, we'll throw in a little oddball bright color. So I have like just these little sparks of these other colors in the finished quilt. But all in all, I want it to feel more of this blonde color. So that's kind of my overall game plan. You know, that could change, but that's what I'm trying to stick to. All right, and this one, do we like it this way or this way? I think I like this in here. So this one just goes here. I suppose it could go wherever. Yeah, really, I don't think it matters at all. We're gonna sew it right there because this is all gonna get chopped off. Yeah, I guess we'll just, I don't know, start here, kind of weave our way in, and then go off again. Kind of goofy. Goofy sewing together bits that are different sizes. But I think I'm just gonna, since this will all get cut off, you know what? Let's just start right at the top. Julie! I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna just turn out awesome. And what I love with quilting and like making these blocks is that each step, like as you finish each step, it looks exponentially better. So, you know, like when we pressed the blocks or pressed these strips for the first time, all of a sudden it looked that much more done and that much more put together. So I'm excited for when we cut this because it's going to magically look a million times more pretty and done. So with that, we're coming to that real soon here. Okay, and this is our last little pressing, so I'm going to just go over the whole thing again. This will give us a little sense of what it'll look like because we're going to be cutting it open like this. Oh, it is so pretty. Okay, I think that's plenty. So pretty. All right. Now again, this is where that magic 6.5 inch square is going to come in handy. If you get anything new for the Splendid Sampler, like if you're intending to do the whole Splendid Sampler from beginning to end, investing in one of these 6.5 inch rulers is going to be awesome because every single block will be cut to 6.5 inches. And man, it makes it easier when you have a square that's that size. All right, so right now we're going to trim this. So we have like this little pretty braid. So we sewed it together like this, but now we're rotating it and then we are going to trim it at that rotation. So I'm just kind of looking at this and I want to do it so it's right in the middle. I mean, you don't have to, you can do it whatever, but that kind of means if I want to center this, I was thinking about using my rotating cutting mat, Jenna, but this is actually bigger than my rotating cutting mat. My rotating cutting mat is only 8 inches, so it wouldn't quite fit on this. But I'm thinking the center point is really these white lines, kind of the center of all these white lines. So if I had to kind of point them out, like I think this point will line up with this point, will line up with this point and this point. So I can kind of use those. If you're really worried about centering this exactly centered, I think I think that's got to be your center line. But you know, again, you could actually move this wherever. You could even angle it a little. Dang, that would be actually really pretty, like that, to have the braid kind of go sideways a little bit. Like that'd be cool. But you know, if you do want it nice and centered, I think it's the center of your middle lines on each of these where they meet is the middle. So the middle of this would be that 3 1/4. So I'm gonna just align. And if I'm totally wrong on this, if this seems crazy, then let me know. But I think that makes sense in math land, right? So if I can line all those 3 1/4 on there. Yeah, kind of like that. But you know, look here, I got to get on the piece. Actually, it's not looking all that centered, is it? I think maybe the block is intended to be a little over this way. Yeah, I suppose on here he doesn't have it centered. It looks like there's more of these blocks over on this side. So you know what? Fine. I'm not going to center along the white middle line. I am going to veer it off a little bit like what he has here. Yeah, we're just going to make it look pretty. We're going to just kind of lay this out. I want to make sure I get a little bit of that fabric in, so I'm going to shush it up to the top. Yeah, we're not going to worry about centering this. We're just going to make it pretty. I just want a little piece of every fabric in there. And adjusting for seam allowance, because I don't want that to get lost in the seam allowance once we sew this up together. Oh, one thing that I can do, my ruler has an angle on there, a 45-degree angle. I can line that with one of my stripes. Yeah, so now I have that diagonal on a stripe there. I think we'll scooch it along there. I'm being really picky now, aren't I? I think right about there. So what I'm looking for in my like pickiness right now is I have the diagonal line going along a diagonal edge here, a seam, and then I have, you know, about the same amount of, I have a little triangle there, a little triangle here, and a little triangle here, and they're all about the same size. So I think this is my plan. I think we're done. I'm going to do it just like this. I think it's awfully pretty. So, all right, we're going to just shimmy. And if you have a rotating cutting mat, this is a good time to use it, but I'm just going to rotate my whole mat versus moving this, because it's just much easier if I don't have to move it. One thing that I'm doing, if I'm cutting on a ruler where I have to start right at the edge, I'm actually starting a little further in, like up here, and then I'm going backwards so it overlaps the cut, and then forward again. And that way you won't start chipping away little bits of the corner by nicking it on accident. Okay, last one. We can actually lift this off. So we'll use all these later. Like I said, oh fun! Look, it's this little pretty banner. Look at that. That's cute. Anyway, let's take a look. Oh, it's so pretty. Yeah, this is the direction we had it going in. So here we go. That is, we are done. That is my block number 1. I like this. This little elephant kind of popped up in here kind of randomly. I was kind of like checking it out when I'm done. So I really like this darker yellow. It's surprising. This is almost the darkest color in the whole piece. We can even look at it with the ruby ruler again. Ooh, yeah, like this and this and this kind of jump out as the darkest colors. But look, it's just still a pale yellow. I love it. All right, guys, that is it for Quilt Market by Alex Veronelli. That didn't take that long. A good two evenings, and our first block is done. So, all right, guys, I mean, even look at this. So different fabrics, and it just looks completely different. But I'm going to flip you guys around, and I will give you show this what this looks like with a person next to it, which, you know, is sometimes, ooh, let's snip this. Let's take care of this right away. So sometimes you can get the effect of it more when it's next to a person. So all right, gonna turn you guys around. Exactly, Nolene. 1 down and 99 more to go. So all right, here we are. It's so cute. Sometimes I like, sorry, I'm shaking you guys again. I like looking at it from far away too, because sometimes you can get your eyeballs see it a little bit differently if you're looking at it different lengths away from you, and things will pop out a little bit different. But I like it. It's pretty. Okay, so now I'm imagining my whole quilt like with this color scheme, and I am super duper stoked. We're gonna do this pale blonde quilt. Awesome. So yay, block number 1 done, guys. Be sure to share your block when you finish it on the Splendid Sampler Facebook page. And if you guys aren't part of my Penguin and Fish Crafters group, I'd love if you join that. Just do a search on Facebook for Penguin and Fish Crafters, and I'd love to see your blocks there as well, or whatever you're working on. I love when people make stuff, so whatever you're making, give it a share there, and then I can see. All right, guys, so I will put this up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies. So by tomorrow morning, you should have the replay video if you wanted to watch it again and look through it. You know, we talked about the pressing directions and the ruby ruler and a few other things, so you might want to check that out if you missed it. And I will be back here on Monday. So Monday we won't be working on the Splendid Sampler. We'll be back to the Charming Chevrons quilt by Krista Watson of Krista Quilts. And we will be free motion quilting. I am attempting to learn how to free motion quilt, and we'll be back at that on Monday. So if you have suggestions for free motion quilting, join me here on Monday, and I will take them. So all right, guys, have a great evening, have a great weekend, and a great Father's Day, and I will see you on Monday. Good night.